Hey everyone. So before we jump into the code editor, I want to hit you with an ask. I'm a contract React Native developer available for hire. You can hire me personally for product work or app maintenance, or if you need a team, I can help with that as well. Shoot me an email at matt@smalldevshop.co if you'd like to chat. Okay, so with that out of the way, what are we doing today? Well, something pretty cool. You might not be asked to do this very often, but let's say you're working on a data visualization app and a designer on your team dreams up an animation where you have a line chart that animates itself being drawn from left to right. Maybe far-fetched, but I've had to do this on production apps once or twice myself. Today, we'll dive into React Native's path animation APIs and use them to implement this animation. This may seem like kind of a narrow use case, but you can use these APIs to draw any path animation you'd like, so they'll come in handy. Okay, let's get started.
Let's start off with a view, and we're going to give it some styles. And let's write out our styles down at the bottom here. We'll give it a container style, and let's import style sheet up at the top. And we'll give our container style flex1, justify content center, and line item center as well. And inside our view, let's create an SVG, and for that we'll import SVG from React Native SVG. And we'll give it some dimensions here. Now, actually, let's derive our dimensions from the dimensions of the screen itself. So up at the top, we can grab our width and our height from the dimensions API, and we'll pass in the string screen. So let's specify a width and a height for our chart. And our chart width will just be the width of our screen minus, say, 30, and the chart height will be half the height of the screen. Now let's give this some styles so that we can see it render. Let's give it a border width of 3. And awesome, there we have our chart. Now inside our SVG, let's create a rect. And let's give it the same dimensions, but with a fill of red, just so we can see it render. Awesome, so now we can see our rect. And also inside our SVG, we'll create a path, and we'll need to give it some basic stylistic props, stroke, fill, and stroke width. And we also need to give it a D prop, and that will be where we'll eventually specify our path. For our path prop, we're going to define a cubic Bezier path. And for that, we're going to need 4 points. We'll need a start point, an end point, and 2 control points. Paths are defined on a standard XY coordinate grid. So if we want to tell our path to start at the lower left-hand corner of our rect, we can just write that as 0, chart height. We'll define 2 control points horizontally positioned between 0 and chart width, and they can be at arbitrary heights. And our endpoint will naturally have an x-coordinate of chart width, and the height can be any arbitrary value above 0 and below chart height. And now we can go ahead and use these points in our path's D prop. Cool, so now we can see that our chart is rendering. Now, visually, what we want to do is create the impression that the path is being drawn progressively from left to right. So what we're going to do is actually put our path behind the rect on the z-axis and animate the horizontal position of the rect from left to right. So you can think about it visually as if we were opening a sliding door and revealing the path behind it. So let's start by putting our path behind our rect. Now let's create a new animated component to represent our rect, and an animated value to drive our animated rect's horizontal position. We'll add a const to store the horizontal position of our animated rect, and here we'll just interpolate our animated value using an input range of, say, 0 to 10, and the output range will be from 0 to the width of the chart. Now let's replace the old rect with our new animated rect. And now in useEffect, we'll write out our animation. We'll be animating our animated value from 0 to 10 over 3 seconds, and we'll use the native driver. Nice, that looks really good. Although one thing that sticks out to me is that the timing seems a little off, so let's explicitly set easing to linear in our animation. Nice. I'm way happier with the way this feels. And the last thing that we need to do to create the visual effect that we're going for is to replace our fill color, which was initially red just for debugging purposes, with white. Awesome. This is the exact visual effect that we were going for. I think this looks great.
I'm pretty happy with the way this turned out. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you in another video soon.